Welcome. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to kind of present this. I want you to pretend you are one of your students, and we're going to kind of go through this fairly quickly, right? But kind of how I would present this. And then we'll put on our teacher hats and look at it from the teacher perspective and share the resources and share some additional information we have for actually running this and things that you might want to do to modify it potentially for your class. And like Daniel said, you are welcome to take any of these materials and modify them in whatever way works for your class. So the question that we're trying to answer today is AI magic, right? It can seem very magical, even to adults, right? Even to those of us who've used computers forever, some of the things that AI does seems like, how the heck does it do that, right? Imagine if you are a 6-year-old who still thinks a lot of things are magic. This is going to very much seem like magic, right? And so it's our job to kind of teach them that it's not magic, spoiler alert.
Hmm.
Right. So um, we're going to start with a story about a girl named Ren and some AI that she uses, right? So uh, this story is called Ren and the AI Helpers, and it was actually generated by a generative AI app called Gemini Storybook.
Hmm.
Pictures and words. Okay. So, Ren loved cozy Saturdays. The sun made stripes on the rug and piles of books waited on the tables. What kind of adventure should I have today? She wondered, looking at the little gray speaker next to her. I know, I want to hear a story. Wren spoke clearly. Algo, tell me a story about a brave penguin. A gentle blue light pulsed on the speaker. It was Algo, the helpful AI voice. I hear you, Wren, Algo replied, searching for a penguin adventure now. How do you know what I said, Algo? Wren asked. Algo's light pulsed again. It's thanks to rules, he chirped. I have a whole set of computer science rules that listen to the sounds of your voice and then follow rules to turn them into words. A wise friend, Professor Code, writes all those words for me. Wren decided that she wanted to read and hear a story on her tablet instead. She picked up the tablet and opened an app. There are too many to choose from, she groaned. Then a tiny cloud of sparkling dots appeared over the screen, showing a few stories highlighted in gold. Hello, Wren, buzzed the tiny dots. I'm Bitsy, the recommender helper. I help you choose. Bitsy swirled a bit. I also follow rules. I look at all the stories you've watched before, and then I follow a rule to find new stories that are just like your favorites. I use patterns to help me guess what you love, Bitsy explained. Professor Code gave me the rules to look for similarities. If you liked the stories with dragons and castles last week, my rules say suggest more dragons and castles. Wren smiled. Bitsy, you're the best. I'll watch the one about the friendly dragon. She tapped the screen and the words of the story appeared. Suddenly, the words flowed and turned into a warm, familiar voice that began reading the tale aloud. It was Algo's voice again, helped by Professor Code's rules. I have a rule to follow, Algo explained. The text on the screen tells me which sounds to make, and I follow the rule to put those sounds together so you can hear the story. Wren realized that both are helpers, Algo, who listened and talked, and Bitsy, who recommended and found things, worked the same way. They didn't use magic, they used rules. Every helpful, invisible trick was powered by computer science. Thank you, AI helpers, Wren whispered as the day grew dark. She knew that whether she was listening to a story or finding a show, there was a whole world of clever rules working hard to help her. Computer science powering AI was the real magic. All right, so Wren learned that AI is not magic. AI is part of computer science. She learned that AI, which is are actually artificial intelligence, is part of what we call computer science, right? Which is often also abbreviated CS. So if you hear somebody say CS, that means computer science. If you hear them say AI, that means artificial intelligence. And guess what? CS isn't magic either. But what is computer science? Well, computer science is about people using the power of computers to solve problems and express ourselves. And since artificial intelligence or AI is part of computer science, we can use AI to help us solve problems or express ourselves too. But remember, Wren learned that computer science is what makes AI work, but what's AI? Well, AI is part of CS, but what it is machines that can make good decisions, mimicking the way that people can make good decisions. So I'm going to ask you a question right now, and I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think the answer to the question is a yes, a thumbs down if you think it's a no, or you can kind of go, I don't know, if you're not sure. And you can use either the reactions on the in Zoom or put something in chat if you like. But the question is, do we, do you always make good decisions? Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't always make good decisions. I can make good decisions, but I don't always make good decisions. AI is very similar. AI is just like us, machines don't always make good decisions. But if they have AI, just like us, they have the capability of making good decisions, right? So it doesn't mean they always do. They're not always right, just like we're not always right. So AI is a technology that can do many different things, right? It's not just one thing, it can do many different things. And it can be inside its own physical device, like Algo was, right? Algo was like a smart speaker. Or it can be software or an app inside a device that has many different apps. And some of those apps probably don't have AI. And that's like Bitsy. Bitsy was inside an app on a tablet. Both Algo and Bitsy were examples of different types of AI that made decisions. So, what technology, actual technologies, we know it's AI, but what in AI is it using? Did Algo use? Well, Algo first used a technology called speech to text. And that is through a speaker, Algo took in the words that Wren was saying and converted them into text that the speaker could use to understand what she was saying. Then, in order to really to try and understand it, Algo had to take that text and run it through something called natural language processing. Big words, but that's what it's called, NLP, natural language processing, to decide what Wren was saying. Now, again, thumbs up or thumbs down here. Do you think it's always been possible to just talk to machines and have them understand what we're saying? Right. Can we, is every machine that we work with today, can we talk to it and it understands us? No. Uh-uh. So the very first computer software to support speech to text, to convert words, was available 35 years ago, actually, in 1990. It was called Dragon Dictate. Devices similar to Algo, which is shown here, that's like what Algo is, actually first became available in 2014, so like 11 years ago. So Algo also used an AI technology called text to speech. Same words, but in opposite order, right? To convert the words of the book into speech, to read the book about the friendly dragon out loud to Wren. So, what do you think? Do you think all machines or could always take text and turn it into speech? What do you think? Yes or no? Yeah, no, no, they couldn't always, but it's been happening longer than you think. The very first machines that were able to convert text to speech in very robotic voices were in 1960s, actually. They were in the 1960s, so a long time ago. But AI systems that started to sound more like humans were first available in the mid 2010s, like machines like Algo, right? They're more human voices. And they keep getting better and better and sound more and more like people. They become more expressive. They used to still be pretty monotone. Now they're becoming more expressive. All right. So that's what Algo used. But what AI technology did Bitsy use? Well, Bitsy is an example of an AI called a recommender system. And recommender systems help us decide what to read or watch or even buy based on recognizing patterns in things we've liked in the past. But not only that, it's also patterns in things that people like us have liked in the past. So it's more than just what we've liked, but it's also what people like us have liked. So we saw Bitsy. Bitsy looks pretty cool, huh? Do recommender systems really look like that? Do they really have these glowing dots that swirl around? What do you think? Yes or no? No, they don't. Typically, they'll just outline something or they'll give us a list of things to choose from that it recommends. They don't have this fancy magical quality like Bitsy did, but that worked for our story. So now I want you to think, what if Wren lived a long time ago? She lived before there was technology like tablets or computers or things that had recommender systems. How would Wren have gotten recommendations on what to read? Can you put that into chat? How do you think? Or you can unmute if you want to unmute and say how you think she would have
Mom
gotten.
and dad, teacher.
Mom and dad or your teachers? Yeah, she would have asked people, right? Maybe friends. Maybe she has a friend and they always seem to like the same kind of books, so she would have asked them. Okay. So we can still ask other people, right? We're lucky. We can do that. And we can also use recommender systems when that makes sense. So we have more options that you would have had from a long time ago. So one of the very first automated recommendation systems was invented in 1979. So that was a long time ago too, by someone named Elaine Rich, and it was to recommend books to people. It was called Grundy, and it actually didn't use AI. What it did was it asked the user a series of questions to try and figure out what genre of books they preferred. And then it always recommended that genre of books. Current recommender systems can change the genre it recommends because I might like books about dragons today, but tomorrow, but then I might decide as I read other books that now I like mystery kinds of books. I don't like fantasy anymore. I like mystery. So AI recommender systems can learn about us and can change the kind of books it recommends. Grundy didn't ever change the kind of books. So recommendation systems that are more AI based like this actually started becoming popular in the 1990s, but they get better all the time too. So we mentioned that this story was written by an AI. It used an AI technology called generative AI. Generative AI is one of the newest types of AI. It uses patterns in text and patterns in images to generate new text and new images. Most generative AI apps also let you use speech to text so you can speak in what you want it to generate, or you can type it in. And they can also use text to speech to actually read back the text they generated, right? So they have multiple kinds of AI built in to them. Now, we said that artificial intelligence is machines that can make good decisions. Did anybody notice anything not quite right about the book? Maybe some decisions that you think, why did the generative AI do that when it generated the book? Did anybody catch any problems in the story? Not necessarily with the words, because that was me. I copied them and sometimes I copied them wrong. Um, but with the pictures, did you notice anything?
I noticed something that isn't a problem. In fact, quite the opposite. Um, it indicates the maturing of the imaging uh, technology is that the little girl was pretty consistent in appearance throughout the whole thing. When I tried to do this about a year ago, the it was like completely different people.
Correct.
And now, oh my goodness, that's pretty good.
Yep, it is. Um, so let's look at the beginning of the book. That's the title. Look at her and look at how she looks. Now look at the first page of the book. Do you notice anything different in her appearance?
Parts of slightly different place in her hair.
I thought her hair color changed a little bit, looked more purple in the cover
Oh yeah.
to match
Her hair color,
the barrette.
yeah, the Brett's right. What about she's not wearing socks here? She's wearing socks here.
Oh, yep.
Her mouth is very tiny here. It's not there.
Yeah, her lips also get thicker in a couple of
Her
them.
lips, her mouth shape changes for sure. And if you go on in the book, you'll notice, if you notice here, she has some white piping, white trim around the collar and the sleeves.
Oh yeah.
That goes away.
Yep.
And then it becomes light green.
But we're having to be really picky
Right,
and look very closely now.
right. What's wrong with this tablet?
Well, no,
Anybody notice anything wrong with that tablet?
maybe
It's
nothing.
inverted, it's looking at us, but
Yeah, I mean, she seems to be seeing a recommendation coming out from her side, but there's pictures on this side.
It
Most
could,
tablets these days don't show both sides. Now, that doesn't mean they won't long term, right? But probably the AI did not make the correct decision on what a tablet might look like today, right? Um, and in this one,
the tablet got a lot bigger.
well, the tablet got huge.
Yeah.
But in this one, she's not really cartoony. It looks
Yeah.
almost like a
a human.
photo
Yeah.
More
versus a
realistic.
cartoony image.
Yeah.
So looks like probably a similar child, though it looks like she might have bangs.
Yeah, the
Um,
style changed.
so, but it looks similar enough that may have been the picture it based it on. Um, because you can actually upload pictures and it'll base it on those pictures. I did not. Um,
And
but
the very last picture got
and
really cartoony.
the very last picture got very cartoony, and she has many freckles that she didn't seem to have in any of the others.
Oh yeah.
So it made a few things that maybe weren't the decisions a human illustrator would have made, for example, right? Um, so you'll notice that. Now, those things, I also don't know what this thing is on the table next to her, but whatever. Um, so there are some things where you kind of go, maybe that wasn't quite what a human would have done, right? Um, it may have been a problematic decision. It may not have been, but this was a fictional story with some actual facts in it. Um, and the actual facts were actually correct. I did modify this story somewhat, and sometimes I did left an extra word in. That's one of the problems, and that was by me, not by the AI. Um, but uh, the facts were actually correct, which I was very pleased with. It didn't make things up as far as how AI worked. So that was great, but
And
it could have
no typos,
no typos.
which
Other
is
than in
a
the
miracle.
if you look at this stuff,
Oh yeah, that's
it's
gibberish.
typo.
That's just
Yeah.
gibberish.
Yeah. And if you go on the final image I generated, and I'm going to go to the last slide. So with kids, I would say, did you notice? And I would have them point it out, and then I might go back and show them some of them. So um, then I have the students do an activity. We're not going to do this today, right? I wrap it up by saying the AI helpers in the book and the generative AI helper are able to do what they do because of the rules and data that people provide. CS powers AI innovation. Okay. Now it's your turn to think about AI helpers in your life, or imagine an AI helper that you would like to have. You're going to draw a picture of you using that AI helper, and then write a sentence or two describing what the AI helper is and how it helps you, right? Um, this image, I actually fed in one of these other images and told it to create this image to talk about how we're teaching the AI using CS, how computer science powers AI. And this image it came up with, Google Gemini. If you open the slides, and I'm going to give you guys a link here in a minute, um, you'll see that it's spelled powered wrong on this cube, which is part of the reason that I cropped that image where I did. Um, it spelled it, you can tell that's what it wants it to be, but it is not. So it still does make spelling mistakes a lot of times. So, um, and it's okay to point that out to kids because I think it's a good idea starting even this young to point out that AI is not always correct, right? Um, so we're going to now put on a teacher hat and think of this in terms of you can just take these and deliver it exactly as it is. If you look at the slides, they have basically what I said in the speaker notes. So you can just deliver it directly using the exact slides and just go for it. This is one, however, that you might think about. Maybe you want to use different AI tech than I did, right? So we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you a link to what I used to create this, and you could create your own, right? So, and piles. There we go. I didn't like that it had that typo that I caused because I rewrote this slightly from what it generated. So let me give you the link. The slides and teacher instructions are on our website, and they are on a website here. I'm going to make this full screen so I can see it better. All right. So it has the slides. It also has a link to the slides. You can grab them there. There's also one that lets you just copy it directly in the teacher guide. Okay. So the structure is you read a story, we make the connections to computer science, right? We saw that in the slides. Within there, when you're on that final slide where it's talking about not the final one where you're having them do an assignment, you have total permission to do whatever you would like with this. Pay it forward, share it with whoever. With any of the things on our website, they are shared freely so that teachers may use them, share them, do what they need to with them. Within this, you can also make connections to language arts. For example, you might want to bring in questions like, um, what how could we make the story better or more interesting? What might we want to add to it? What might we want to change? Would and I always love to ask the questions with littles to get them start to think about rather than using generative AI, but using their actual brains and writing stories themselves. Would people learn to write their own stories if they always had AI do it? Would we? Probably not, if we were never required to do it. And then who does it help that AI can do things like this? Because there are people it can help, like me creating this when there's no book out there that does this tie in the way I wanted for this lesson. But who could it harm that AI does this? What if there was a book out there that had this kind of almost exact same thing, but instead of buying the book, I used a generator. I've now not bought the book, right? So it can help and harm. So it's a good idea to help kids think about that as well. Um, so the slides themselves have speaker notes like we talked about, right? So you can see what's going on with the speaker notes. Um, and there's a teacher guide that is linked from the page. And that teacher guide has the structure, what you'll need. When the students do their activity, you can totally do it on paper. Give them a blank piece of paper and pencils and crayons and let them draw, right? Or you could have them use something like a seesaw where they could draw in the app. They could record what their AI helper is and what it helps them with and stuff. For the littles that may not write yet, you could have them dictate a sentence that you help them write. I mean, all of those different ways we differentiate right now. It could be plugged for the students or unplugged. Um, it could even be that you use a book and you don't use the slides at all. You just use the ideas here. And you just sit with a book and read it, use chart paper to write the definitions of the words we want them, and then just have discussions and have them draw something. You don't have to use this. You can just use the ideas from it if you wish. I do in the teacher guide, further down here, when I'm talking about the story, I say, hey, you might want to do a different thing. You might want to use a book, direct book. There's a book called Zoe and Zephy, her AI helper. Let me go in really quick to Amazon. I'm not going to show you the entire book because this is being recorded, but I'm going to show you the cover. It's available on Amazon and it's available Lulu, I think somewhere else, I believe as well. You can get a print copy or a Kindle version. And it's a tale about a curious girl and her. I want to move this for a second. I'm going to go to location 1 so you can see the beginning of the book. Let's do and go. So it basically is about what they call Zephy. So it's also about a smart speaker of some kind, about like an Alexa. And it's an entire story about that. It doesn't make, and none of the stories that I'm recommending make the tie that I made to being powered by CS. You would have to make that yourself. But it's a good one. There, oh, this isn't a YouTube read. This is a YouTube read aloud of it. And there's an author site about the book, about why he wrote it and whatever. So it's a good one. But again, you'd have to make those explicit ties to CS because it's not part of the book, right? Their AI club has some books. They used to be free. You used to be able to read them for free. They aren't anymore. This one called AI in Your Life. Also, you can get on Amazon, you can get a Kindle version of it as well. Um, it has some factual information, and then chapters 3 through 6 of it tell kind of a story of a day in your life with AI. So it kind of gets into the whole how we use AI in our lives. It includes, of course, something like um, like Algo, like Zephy, but it also includes like using guidance in a car and self-driving cars it talks about, and then a couple other things. So it does talk recommender systems as well. So it's the 2 I did and then a couple others. Again, you'd have to make that tie um, to computer science directly. And then there are 3 books written by Beverly Clark. This one is called Smart City, and it's probably the one I would recommend. And there's a read aloud of it on YouTube. So, and it's about kids going with their mom kind of on a trip to this city that has a lot of AI built into systems within there. They go into like, if you've ever been into one of the Amazon stores that automatically add up your total, they visit that. They talk about a lot of different automated systems there. Again, you'd have to make the tie. The nice thing about this one is there's bolded text on kind of the technology it's talking about. So it helps you when you're reading it. And you can get this on Amazon or wherever as well. And there is a Kindle version as well. Right. So you can use other books. Those are three that I recommend. There are other AI other books in this series. However, they are not going to be things the kids encounter in everyday life. This will be AI in your life. So you can buy books, which I always encourage people to do because I want to support human authors, right? But you can also generate them. So now we're going to play with the way you can generate, which is Gemini Storybook. You have to have a Google account. If your school blocks Gemini, you won't be able to use it with your school account. And one thing that you can't do if you have a workspace account, which is a school EDU account, is a workspace account, you can't share them.
Mm.
Like right now, I can physically share a link to the story that I wrote. And in fact, within the within here, I have a link that I'll copy. If you want to see, this is the original story it generated, which I copied the images out of and copied the text out of into slides, just so it would all be embedded in there. And I wanted to tweak a little bit of the language sometimes. Not that it was wrong, but I just didn't like how it was worded. So it would let you edit the book a little bit because you can't edit it either. But I could have shared it directly. And one of the things you can do when you share it directly is have it read to you. You cannot do that with a workspace account. Okay. You can't do the share. It won't let you. Um, but if we go in here, and you might want to take a minute to play and go in, I'm going to go to my actual Gemini account so I can show you what I did to generate the book that I have. But if you go to the link, you can go and say start a story. You just, in the start a story, you just put a prompt in. Now you can upload a picture you want it to base on, you know, so whatever. Once you've used it, it'll be in gems up here and you can click on it. And your storybooks show up down here with a little book beside them if you're in your Gemini account. So this is the one I generated. They called it Ren and the Rule Helpers. I didn't want to call it that, so I changed the title when I changed it slightly, changed the title when I put it in. But when you're reading it, you can right click and copy images, and you can copy the text. So you can copy and paste it into slides like I did, right? You can't edit it in here, but you can do that. So I asked it to generate a story for a 6-year-old about the AI helpers they may encounter in their daily lives. And I gave some examples, and I told it to ground the story in the fact that computer science powers AI. So that's why I got that direct connection that isn't in other books that I could buy. And it's really good at making the images very similar throughout the book, because it used to be impossible to do that.
And the text is actual text, not just pictures of what it thinks
Correct.
words are. So it's just
Correct.
the advancements have just been amazing.
Correct. It's actual real text, so I can copy and paste it into something else. I can also, if I'm using because I'm using my personal account, I can share it and create a link and share that anywhere that I want. Copy the link, and I can listen to it from here. I can download a PDF of it, which then I could print. So if you wanted a print version of it to have, you could actually download a PDF and print it as well. So it's kind of fun to play with that. Um, I still, like I said, encourage human authors. And, but it's very helpful to have something when you cannot find that book that you need that has the tie that you want, which is the reason that I use this time, as opposed to using a real book. Also, I wanted something that could be free to all teachers to use as opposed to something where they had to purchase a book. And that's what I have for you today. So I'm going to stop sharing here
Yeah. Vicky,
and see everybody.
earlier on, you mentioned that you can't edit, but like all generative AI, you can edit the prompts.
Correct.
When we were playing with this before the session, I created a story, or I prompted a story about some astronauts, and the images that, or some of the images it created had them on the moon with their helmets off. Well, that could be a problem. So I said, no, please make sure that all the helmets are on, and had it regenerate it, and it did first time. So I only
Right.
had to do it twice.
That's good because I have reprompted it for other books that I've tried to create that were more autobiographical about like Fei Li. I created a book on that. And I tried to reprompt it to get some slight differences in the images and it wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
It
any of
either
the
just regenerated and it was identical, or it literally told me, no, I can't do that.
right. Any of us who've
So,
worked with this
and it,
for any length of time have run into situations where we run into these loops of if it says okay and then it doesn't do it. It's, oh, I'm sorry, absolutely, I will do that, and then it doesn't do it. That's just where we are in the
yeah,
technology right now.
yeah. So, yeah. Anybody have any questions, comments, um, other ideas that, you can come off mute. Love to hear from you.
Oh, little housekeeping note. Our host, Daniel, did drop into the into the chat, and posted a link to our feedback form. So it'd be great if you guys would tell us what you think of us.
Good or bad. We don't care.
Bad
Because
is
the
actually
idea,
much more useful.
correct. Things we could improve are actually very useful to us because the idea is we want these to be useful to you um, with your classes. So, or even things like this is a really bad time to hold things, maybe later or earlier would, even
Question.
things like that are helpful.
Quick question, if I may. With the kiddos, we're going to be as open and honest like you were, saying that it was the whole story was generated by like a prompt and demo
Absolutely.
Gemini, or that's only for the teachers, like sort of behind the scenes
I
for the
would
teachers?
not demo it with the
Okay.
kids,
Yeah.
but yes, I would tell them it was generated because on that slide that was like the second to last thing, we asked them, we say, it was generated. We talked about AI making good decisions. Did it always make good decisions in the images it generated? And did you notice any things that were a little off
It
that you
reminds me
might
of
not have
like when you
done?
play those games where you look at two pictures and you're trying to find the one
Correct.
difference. They'll love that. Okay. Okay.
Correct. ChatGPT does not do a good job in creating, as at least it hadn't the last time I tried it, which was not
It
that long ago, in generating stories with pictures that are really good and contiguous throughout the story. It doesn't do a great job in storybook creation. Hadn't. Now there could be something available now that does. I have not looked through all of the possibilities because I know you can create your own things that are like the gems, which is what the storybook is.
for the tools generally available to most teachers, Gemini has made some leapfrog advances in its ability to create imagery.
Right.
It's
Nano Banana is
Probably
great.
second only to Midjourney right now. And
Yeah,
Midjourney is kind of an expert tool.
yeah.
Is that
It,
available for free for educators, or is that more of a
Midjourney is
paid?
not free.
Okay, no, no. Okay.
no. And yes, if you can get something good generated out of ChatGPT that you can then I wouldn't, then you could definitely use it as a story. Like I said, the last time I tried to generate it, I couldn't find a good way of doing it that kept the pictures as consistent as
Right.
the Gemini storybook does. Um, because that's the thing when I'm doing a story for K-2, I want pictures and I want them to be, these were at least semi-consistent. Um, so when you get picky, you can find differences. And at least they didn't have six fingers and things like that. I did generate a second one that I did not like at that did they did a really bad job on it. Let me find it for you. Um, and I will share it and see if you notice what I notice. And I did not prompt it to like use a specific um, gender or ethnicity, which I could have, and then it would have done that. It follows that. So
What do you guys think of Google Quick Draw as like a fun little like AI brain break for the kiddos to like read the words and try to play the game where they like draw in
the
20
the
seconds?
only problem I have with it with kindergartners is I have made more than one kindergartner cry
Cry because they can't get all
because
six.
it's 20 seconds. And if
It's
they
yeah,
don't know the word, they have to wait for it to be pronounced, which means they have less than 20
20 seconds.
seconds. And And they have to be able to then draw it within the 20 seconds. Think about how do I abstract that and draw it? I use auto draw instead
Instead, okay.
because auto draw will,
Start
give them
generating for them once they kind of create
suggestions.
something and then give them choices.
It gives them choices. They start drawing it. If they're using the magic in there,
Hmm.
you start drawing it. It'll give you suggestions at the top of the screen and you can pick it. You can color it in, change the outline color of it and
Okay.
all of that. So
That's less stress and no
that
timer, right? Okay.
it's less stress and they can then add their own things to it and they can draw a whole scene. So I tend to use auto draw with Kinder
Okay.
only because I've made them cry because they have to wait if they're readers, but it doesn't always give them easy words, right? It's and they can't think abstractly of how would I draw
Yeah, because you only
that
have 20
Right.
seconds, so you can't be super
because you only have,
detailed, even
and
if
you
you're an
can't
artist,
change
right?
the timing. If you could change the timing, I would say absolutely
Okay.
20 seconds for a kindergartner. I made him cry.
Okay.
And I
Oh,
didn't intend to make him cry.
Yeah.
And I hate things that make kindergartners cry.
No,
So
no, no. I'm with you on that. No, no, I don't want to do that. That's what I'm saying. But I wanted something fun and quick for them to like sort of play with it and like an. But I love what you said. Okay, so auto draw.
auto draw. And choose the magical
And make sure they do that, but
pencil
give them the choices. So if they
because the
start drawing a
magical
tree,
choices give them choices. They
although
cannot,
it's not magic, right? But magical
it's
choices.
not magic, but it's kind of a magic pen because it uses AI rather than a regular pen.
And then you're empowered to choose from the three choices or the
Correct.
options it
And
gives
you
you.
may not like any of the choices it
And
gives
that's
you
okay.
and stay with your own picture. I like it because it puts the human definitely in the loop
Okay.
and definitely making the decision as opposed to some of the other.
And then from there, can you print those out?
Yeah,
mhm.
Okay. Do you like
Download them.
snapshot it,
You-
screenshot
you
it,
can,
or
uh,
They're
are they on
download.
tablets or?
yeah, iPads?
Yeah,
Mm.
I screenshot it.
Okay.
There is a download, but it's real. It like is it
Cumbersome
doesn't
to
go to
screenshot. Okay.
it doesn't go to pictures, and
Okay.
so I screenshot it. Yeah,
Yeah. They gotten pretty good at that.
yeah.